How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the BDT factory. Today we'll be installing a ported and polished supercharger on the B8.5 Audi S4. Stay tuned, guys. Alright guys, first things first, let's remove the upgraded throttle body from the supercharger. Don't forget, guys, to stick a rag inside the intake so you do not get dirt and debris in there. We're going to be removing the purge valve from the supercharger. Get a nice pick, lift it off the edge so you can unseat it. Be easy on this, it will break. Remove the connector from the back of the purge valve. There we go. Set that off to the side. Alright guys, next thing, we'll be removing the electrical connectors from the flap. And then on top of it, we'll be removing the intake manifold flap connectors. Pretty easy, gray, black. Next thing we'll be removing is the vacuum lines to the intake manifold flaps. I have these marked white and then yellow, if that's yellow, colorblind, so. Be very gentle, they're pretty brittle. This port goes to my exhaust flaps, so ignore that. That's not going to be there for you, but there will be this T, but ignore that. After you get this removed, kind of get out of your way a little bit. You're going to go back here. There's going to be a map sensor in the back of the supercharger. Once that's removed, we're going to move to the two front map sensors. Alright guys, we'll be removing the supercharger belt. We're going to go ahead and mark the orientation of the belt. We'll be using a 16mm wrench to get down to this supercharger bolt. We'll be turning it clockwise. Go ahead and just set that off to the side here. Usually like to use the wrench to kind of hold it there. Perfect. So now we'll be removing the T30 bit that holds the coolant pipes up front here, just this one. Be careful not to drop this, because if you lose this one, it's going to be a hard one to find. You'll be spending hours on it. So I usually do the last part of it by hand, so I do not drop it. And we're going to remove the clamps from the front coolant pipes. Be very gentle with this hose right here, very brittle hose. You don't need to break that today. Release the pressure from the coolant system, if there is any. It's going to leak a little coolant, nothing too major. Go ahead and break it free. Next, we'll be removing the 13mm from the top of the super Next, we'll be removing the cover on the side of the supercharger. I do not want to drop the bolts, so I'm going to grab a magnet. On this side, you got two little clips, one right here, one right here. Reach back there, gently pry it up like a little tab. These things break very easily. There we go. One side is already broken. See, I can see I broke one tab right there. You got to be very gentle with the piece. I actually don't believe you have to remove this side, but I did it for completeness. Alright guys, next thing, grab some long extensions, run through these holes. Audi's provided very nicely for us. Grab a friend to have one side, or if you're a Hulk, you can do it yourself. Alright, Chloe, ready? Yep. 1, 2, 3. Alright. Just something for you guys to know when you remove the supercharger. Don't forget about this valve right here. Very important. Also the orientation, you see that has a nipple right there. That needs to go on to the PCV side of itself, just for you guys to see. You probably go like that. But just note the orientation of this. This will cause vacuum leaks. Your car to be really mad at you. So, don't forget to replace the gaskets as well. Alright, that's pretty much it, guys. We're going to swap over the hardware to the ported supercharger now. So I'm going to go over the main differences of a OEM supercharger versus a ported and polished. So as you take a look, the OEM, if you look way up there, you can see the material. You really know how it looks. Map sensor sitting back there. You can see this ridge right here. And then the ported and polished, see there's no ridge. It's just nice and smooth. They've taken off a lot of material up top. If you duly note the nipple right here, or this ledge up here, you can see how far they've really dug into this. Now let's get you the good stuff. What's the difference? Let's get you a nice measurement here. Alright. So coming in at 76. Let's go with that OEM life. Let's see what that's about. Oh gosh. Take your guess right now. Oh my gosh. 70. Woo! So you guys can see they really opened this up. Did it again just to verify. 70, let's grab this one. I'll do it at the same spot just for scientific reasons. Comes in at 75. So as you guys can see, that's definitely opened up very nicely. They polished it right back there. You don't want to polish it too much. You do need the rivets on the side to break down air turbulence. But nice smooth air, you can definitely see they're bringing in a lot more air mass, and it's going to slow up velocity, but that's also good because once we lower velocity, that'll lower intake air temperatures as well. So we are going to be installing new map sensors. We don't want to use these. These are at 90,000 miles. The supercharger pulley up top is already upgraded, so we don't have to mess with that. We have new hoses here, so we'll be installing some new. Definitely want some supercharger gaskets as well. Here's the map sensor I got from ECS. If you guys can see that, there you go. So, stay tuned, guys. We're going to swap over the hardware and finish this baby up and install it.
Alright guys, so since we're installing water meth on this supercharger, we need a good spot to install it. So we're going to be installing the water injection nozzle right here. A lot of times people will use a throttle body spacer, but since we were pulling the supercharger off already, we figured we would drill it in right here for a more stealthy install. So I marked out where I wanted it to be, and the first thing I'm going to do is take a center punch, and I will punch it right there. So I mark where I'm going to be drilling so the drill bit doesn't wander around. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'll be taking a small drill bit to pre-drill the hole. Now that I've got my pre-drill hole done. I'm just going to go back in and clean it up a little bit. Now after that, I'll be taking the correct size drill bit. So these, the nozzles are all 1/8 inch NPT, so I get the corresponding drill bit, which, if I remember correctly, it's 21/64. So now I'm gonna line this bad boy up here. Looks like my battery died on my drill. We'll be right back. Alright, so we got a new battery in the drill. Always remember to charge your batteries. And I installed a rag here just for when I go through the rest of it, so I don't get a ton of metal shavings down there, but you'll always want to make sure to vacuum it out and blow it out and make sure there's no metal in there, because engines don't like metal. So here we go. Alright, so now we got our hole there in the correct size. So the next step is going to be to tap that hole to the correct 1/8 inch NPT size. So first things first, I'm going to put some oil here on the on my tab. Shot out a little fast there, just to make sure that it all goes smoothly. Now obviously you want to make sure this is nice and square. A little slow. Just like you learned in shop class, you go a few turns in and then a half turn out to break the chips off. Alright. And once you get it far enough in there, you're going to be ready to install your nozzle. Alright guys, so now we're going to be installing the nozzle, and for our specific application we will be using the 1000cc nozzle. This is out of the AEM kit. So to do that, since it's a NPT thread, you shouldn't need any sort of sealant on the threads there, and you're just going to want to get it tightened up, but not too tight, to strip the threads out. Alright.
Before installing the supercharger, guys, let's just make sure we have a nice clean mating surface. I've already cleaned this. You can hear my finger. That's when you know that baby's clean. So you want to clean this, the inlet for the PCV on the supercharger. Clean the other side, of course. Then blow this out with air. You want to make sure there's nothing in there. It's nice and clean. We clean the mating surface for the map sensors if you're changing your map sensors while you're there. Other than that, we got the new coolant pipes up front, up here, and we clean that mating surface as well. So I just want to give you guys an overview of what you need to clean before you install the supercharger. So we're installing the O-ring gaskets for the supercharger, brand new OEM from Audi. Getting right back at it, so just make sure the mating surface is nice and clean. You have Loctite on your bolt, and we're going to torque this down to 5 Newton meters. So, hand torque it, please, so you do not cross thread some stuff, because that would make for a fun time. Good old blue Loctite, here we go. Give me everything it has. some like water, go around the O-ring, wiggle her in there. She wants to go in. There we go. So I can't really find the torque spec, guys, so I'm gonna give it the good old Guten tight. That should be the finishing touch. Time to install this bad boy. Guys, please note, put some water on this O-ring because you do not want to clip it, snip it, break it. It's pretty nice. Make sure to watch out for the hoses while you come up. Make sure the pads are in their specified location. There's pads back here for noise. Other than that, we will torque down these bolts and start putting everything back to normal. You'll be setting this to 20 Newton meters. First things first, let's get the coolant hoses back. Guys, please note to install the hose clamp the way it was before. Line it up with the marks. You'll see this where it used to be sitting. And you want to sit it right back there so you have 0 leaks. Nice little one. Nothing too crazy on that bolt, guys. It breaks pretty easy. Next, I'm going to be installing the vacuum lines back to their spots. I have them marked, so hopefully you guys did the same. These are for the flaps, so if you do these incorrectly, you will get flap codes. Ignore this, guys. This is for my flaps for my exhaust, not for the intake manifold, for my exhaust. You will not have this unless you have the ECS valved exhaust. Don't forget about the map sensor connector in the back. A lot of people forget about those. Just plug in the connectors for the flaps as well. An 80 valve. Lube it up. Nice click, lets you know that it's definitely in place. Don't forget about connecting up the N80 valve. Let's go ahead and put our shields back on here. Do that with a magnet because I hate dropping those bolts. If you drop one of these, it's kind of hard to find. Nothing too crazy with torque on this one, guys. It's time to install the map sensor connector on this side. Don't forget this map sensor over here. Now we're going to install the supercharger belt. there we go. First drop tool. Make sure the supercharger belt tension's pretty good. This feels pretty good. You're gonna start your car up and it is gonna squeak because we just put coolant onto the belt. So if you want, go ahead and pour water on it as well. Go ahead and clean that off. Just cleaning the mating surface for the throttle body. All right, so we're gonna install the stock throttle body. So sad to see it stock, but we need to see the differences between meth injection and ultracharger. So. Guys, please note that this shield's not supposed to be bent like this. I had this for the bigger throttle body setup, so this is not how it's going to be in your car with the CTS intake kit. Don't forget the vacuum line in the back right here. CTS's intake has a little extension. The bleeder screws for the supercharger on the back side here. So we got some 50-50 mix here. Well, I 50-50 mixed it. This actually is a non-distilled. Little Matco Tools has a nice adapter to bleed out the air. Perfect. We're gonna jump it to between 14 and 15 PSI, right here. Okay. If you guys can see that. With the pressurized, release these until you see coolant come out. These O-rings like to break, so please be careful. If the supercharger's old, you might want to replace them. These are brand new. You do not want to strip it either. Alright, so let's pump that baby back up to 14, 15 PSI. Let it sit there. If it starts dropping, you have a leak. And if not, you did a good job. Pat yourself on the back. Alright guys, as you can see, it's been holding pressure for about 5 to 10 minutes here. So we have 0 leaks. Looks like everything's good, and it's time to ship it. It should drop down a little bit after a little drive, just get some air bubbles out. Send it. Alright guys, now that we have everything put back together, let's go ahead and start the car.